Hi, Janet. Thank you for joining me and being early or on time,
Oh,
actually.
am I on time?
Yes, on time. Even though it's not like, we have a set time, but we definitely have a set time for starting. How was your day so far?
It's been good, except there's so many fires here that it's very smoky. Everybody's inside.
Oh, I see. Where is it here for
In
you?
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz?
Santa, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been super hot, like in the hundreds, and we had a lightning storm, so a lot of fires. So a little bit scary because it's been so dry, but you know,
Oh, yeah. No, definitely, certainly. I live kind of like down the coast from you in Santa Monica. It's way further down, but we had a lot of wildfires last summer. There's a lot of
yeah,
smoke, and it went for days and days, and it was devastating for a lot of communities and neighborhoods.
yeah, it's scary because it happens so fast. I mean, that lightning storm just in my area, within a few miles, there was 5 fires that they were called out. So they're all under control, but it's still, you know, we've had a couple years of super dry weather, so there's a lot of stuff to burn.
Yeah, can only imagine. Yeah, it was the case out here as well, and then afterwards we had so much rain. Not everything like there's blooms and like flowers everywhere.
Ah,
Yeah, which was beautiful. Yeah, like this springtime in February and March, we had a lot of rain, like which was to me totally unusual, being that I've been living here for what is it now, about 10 years now, and
oh,
pretty,
10 years. Wow.
yeah, and usually it's pretty dry out here. It's pretty dry, maybe rains well once a year,
Uh
kind
huh.
of deal. And we had a lot of rain, so yeah, this brought a lot of new fresh flowers and all kinds of stuff, and all the usually
Nice.
all these kind of hills around that are just dry and dirt are all covered, which was pretty nice.
So is this webinar the start of a series like the other ones, or is it just a one time?
Well, this one I'm doing a whole series of webinars,
Okay.
12 different webinars on different topics. So in a sense,
Oh,
it's not a
okay.
series talking about intuition specifically, but a series of webinars talking about various subjects of high importance when it comes down to personal development or optimizing your life, for things that one should be working on if they want to live an extraordinary life, coming from that
Perfect.
perspective.
Great. I appreciate you doing that.
You're very, very welcome. I'll live for that. I really, some time ago I found out that was something that I really enjoyed and I was good at. So I doubled down on it and went on in, and I've been following this gold thread for a while.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. What about you? What brings you to the webinar today?
I actually got an email that talked about this app. And so I got on the app about 2 minutes ago and saw it, and I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting. So um, I have been on Mind Valley for about, oh, maybe 6 weeks. I just did Life Book, which I thought was amazing for me because I have recently retired, and I thought it was hard because I didn't feel like I had goals. And now it was very interesting to go through each of the categories and see what, how to design my life going from here on out. So I like that. And now I'm looking for the next one.
Nice, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that now you have hopefully a fully blown, compelling vision to
Yeah.
sail
Yes.
towards. That's fundamental, actually. When it comes down to, we'll talk about this in detail as we go into the conversation, but that's fundamental. Having a definite chief aim, in the words of Napoleon Hill,
Uh
if
huh.
if you're familiar with his
Yes.
work. But yeah, having a vision, a chief aim, some specific target that you're aiming at. That's great. Yeah, I did live book some time ago. It's been a while, but it's definitely a great process if you really invest the time and ask the questions. Let me see. Why am I not able to enter? Oh, there we go. Okay. Hi, Anush. Thanks for joining. It's good to see you again. We're just having a quick conversation with Janet. She was telling me what brought her to the webinar today and where she's at, what she's up to. Anush, or since you probably, you have no idea unless you're highly intuitive, was someone I recently coached complimentary to work out or give her some clarity on some issues that she was facing. So now she's back for a webinar.
Oh.
To see her. Hi, Tara. Thank you for joining us. Please free to unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and share with us what brought you to the webinar. What would you like to learn? What is something that's important to you as far as intuition goes and so on? Or you can also type it in the chat box. You guys are welcome to use the chat. I'm not going to be able to check it off once we start the webinar conversation, but generally speaking, feel free to chat, and then I can save all the comments and so on later on. But yeah, we're going to wait for another 13 minutes, I would say, and regardless of how many people join us, as long as you guys are on board, we're going to go ahead and have the webinar, because it's not about the quantity, it's the quality. So again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking time to invest in yourself, because that's ultimately what it is. You're taking time to invest in yourself by being introduced to hopefully some ideas that are not new to you. And even if they are, that's even greater, because we can always find newer levels of distinctions and specifics that maybe we were not aware of previous. And intuition is definitely one of these topics that some people are very much connected to, and others it's kind of like doesn't even exist in their paradigm. It's something that they watch on the sci-fi movies and they think, wow, what a cool party trick kind of deal. Yeah, let's start with this. What about you, Janet? How are you when it comes down to intuition? Where would you say you are? Have you been using your intuition? Are you aware of it? Where do you stand with that?
So when I am relaxed, rested, and grounded, extremely intuitive. I mean, I get sensations. I can tell when somebody's suffering. I used to work at hospice, and so I've developed this sensitivity for who needs, even if I'm praying silently for them.
Yeah.
I'd like to develop it more, because it's been really helpful in feeling like I'm a better parent, a better friend. If I can be more sensitive to what somebody's going through and respond to it. I am somebody who has very prophetic dreams, and that's also when I am really relaxed. So it's trying to meditate more, trying to do more grounding exercises so that it comes through. So I'd love for you to talk about that at some point, of tips on how to turn up the volume on that, how it happened for you. And like I said, I'm really wanting, because I think it can be such a gift, both to me to understand things from my side and also to give more what somebody needs.
Great, wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you already have a good connection with your intuition. You know it exists. You've been having experience with it, and definitely meditation, I would say, is one of the most significant things And we'll dissect this much deeper, but definitely meditation, I would say, is the starting point. Without meditation, no real genuine self-work can be done, because everything in the human condition is a self-help situation, meaning you either helping yourself to get in a better place or you're making things worse for yourself. And knowing which one is it comes with having a certain level of self-awareness, which only comes through meditation, because the rest of the time the mind is trying to run the show and it's just loud and screaming and just like this little baby having a tantrum, always like, pay attention to me, right? Like, I want to be the king in the castle, and you have to be the one that trains the mind to know its place, because the mind is a tool. It's not. It's a very lousy leader when it comes down to navigating human life. It's great for navigating from point A to point B when you know where you want to go, but it's just like with the navigation system in the car. You don't ask where you want to go. You just as it takes you where you want to go once you are clear where you want to go. And that's something that only your intuition and your soul or your heart can really tell you. So that's why intuition is fundamental, and we're definitely going to have a very deep dive into this conversation today. So hi, Anush, good to see you again.
Hi. Good to see you too. Thank you.
What brings you today to the webinar?
Oh, yeah. So I was interested in the topic that you said about the intuition, because it's something that I feel that most human beings have, and it's just a matter of how to develop to use it, like I have strong sense of intuition. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what I do to make it stronger or less strong, but I think it's something that we were born with for self-defense, maybe protection. I don't know. So it's something that I want to explore more and find out how I can develop it and make it stronger.
That's wonderful. Well, you guys gonna have a wonderful time, because you're gonna learn everything about it from to a certain degree, because obviously there are levels of distinctions, and it's all through practice that you can, and using it like everything else, that you can get it to be stronger and better and more connected to it, and hearing it or knowing each time it shows up.
Okay.
But definitely, I'm glad to hear that you already have a sense that you are intuitive, because the truth is every single human being is intuitive. It's whether you can use it or not, or whether you can sense or be aware of it, of its presence and how it's occurring for you, because in each and every single person, it's unique in the way it's expressing. And I'll give personal examples, and you two already with Janet having some ideas could give great examples of how it's occurring within you as well. And we can see that within each one of us, it's occurring in a different way.
Okay.
So let's wait for another 7 minutes, and we're gonna start the webinar so more people can join us. And simultaneously, I wanted to say hi to Tara. Tara, please feel free to unmute yourself, or I can do it on your behalf, and say hi.
Hi there. Sorry, I didn't know about this until the last few minutes, and I've actually got my granddaughter tonight, so I'm kind of juggling, trying to get her in bed and do this seminar. So anyway, no, I think I kind of am on the same level. I just want to maybe learn to control my intuition a little bit more, not necessarily control it, but develop it more. I've always had strong intuition, and actually was really, really strong when I was young, to the point like every single night I was having psychic dreams, and I was really afraid of it. So I pushed it down a lot. And now I still have it, but it's not ever in an everyday thing. And I think the biggest thing for me this year, I've had a couple of things happen where I had a dream about my job, and it happened, and I pushed it down when I had the dream. So I kind of, I go back and forth, like, was that a dream, or was that something really that's going to happen? And so I don't always know when it's truthfully an intuitive moment, or if it's, if it's my subconscious just kind of playing tricks on me. So I want to get to the point where I trust myself a lot more, if that makes sense, so that I can believe that it's really what it is.
I see. You're looking for certainty with all these leads. That's good. That's good. I've always been highly intuitive in different ways. I just didn't know growing up that there was a name for this thing and what it is.
Right.
I just thought it was what it was. And I actually, just like you, I had some dreams, especially like it wasn't a dream. In my experience, wasn't a dream.
Yeah.
It was actually, I had an out-of-body experience one night when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I pushed it, like I recently, some months ago, I actually watched some documentary on the same subject. And I realized that I've had this experience, but because it was such a kind of like, what's going on here? Kind of like, what the hell experience, that I pushed it so like in such a like hidden place in my consciousness that I totally forgot about this. And watching the documentary, all the memory came back vividly in my head, and I still remember it because I was so freaked out of what was going on, because I didn't know what was going on. I had no context for what was going on, and I was felt in so like I had no control of the experience. It was like I'm a passenger here, and I have no clue what's going on, because it was like I wake up in the middle of the night, and I like kind of floating in the corner of, or just in the upper corner of the room, and I cannot move. I screamed because I was sleeping with my parents at that time. I was screaming, but nobody was hearing me, or I couldn't say anything. It was very like I was so freaked out, and then eventually I found myself next day waking up in the morning, but I never spoke with my parents about it because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
so
that's the same. I mean, same for me. Since I was a little kid, just repeated things. And and I have sometimes it's during a dream, and sometimes it's not during a dream. Sometimes it's during the day. I just, I never know how it's going to affect me. But yeah, I want to be like these psychics who can tell oh yeah, this is going to happen to you. And that would be awesome. So I could like that. To me, that's kind of a control with it. Like you just, oh yeah, let me just pull this out of my head. Oh, okay, this is going to happen next week. That'd be awesome. But it doesn't work for me like that.
Well, we're definitely going to talk. I don't think we're going to have time to really go that deep, but here's something I want to share with you. Intuition is not something that is like 100% definite, because we live in a universe where there are infinite possibilities. Just some things are more probable than others. It's a possibility, probability, but then there's so many moving parts that need to come together in order for this intuitive vision, guidance, and so on message to really align in the exact same way as you saw it. However, what's important is not necessarily if it's going to play out exactly as you saw it, but if it's going to put the person on the path that will take them in the further direction. Because we're now looking at the end of the day, we're going to start with this topic initially of definite achieve aim, or having a vision, because a clear vision where you want to go in life, like an end goal under the rainbow, none of intuition makes sense.
Yeah.
Or it's not useful, because then you're just grasping at straws. You're trying to like navigate just through your day, which makes no sense. It's a long-term tool. It's not for something to use like and look in short distance. It has to do with the path it's going to put you on, that's going to take you to the place that you should be in life, where your soul is trying to go. And again, it's taking into consideration the big picture of having a vision or a definite chief aim of what you want out of life or where you want to go in life, then it can lead you there. And again, it's not necessarily it's going to look exactly the same and develop the same so you can have the certainty. It's more of it's going to take you on that path, and then as long as you stay on the right path, eventually you're going to get to your destination.
Yep.
So I hope this is making sense from that perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
rather than relying to be exact, like what was his name? This very famous psychic from the past that said whichever year the world would end and so on and so on. French, I think, was it? Some
like
French.
Nostradamus? Or?
Yeah, Nostradamus. Yes, Nostradamus. Yeah. So he saw things. He had obviously visions and so on, but it doesn't mean that they will manifest in the exact same conditions.
Yeah.
Because again, there are so many pieces of the puzzle that need to come together, and that one possibility to become reality. Because we're all constantly co-creating this life experience that we're having. Because we all have a consciousness that we can control reality. Because reality is subject to influence of human consciousness or higher degrees of consciousness, which in living beings on our planet, humans seem to have the highest. But that's another advanced talk on consciousness and how this actually works with the reality. Just to throw it out there, right? Just for context. And with this being said, we have three of us. I'm gonna start the webcast or the webinar. And first, I want to open up by again saying thank you, all three of you, right now, for showing up and investing this time in yourself, because ultimately this is what it is, to learn a topic of such a significant importance. I think that's going to play a significant difference in your life from here on if you actually take action on the things I'm going to share with you and start using your intuition in your life, because that's the key. It's not about knowing, it's about doing and using the knowledge you have to see the results that you're looking for, or at least to get in a better place in life. And let's start by just first introducing myself. My name is 𝗞𝗲𝘆. I am an expert transformational speaker and critically acclaimed author on the subjects of holistic transformation, self-mastery, and extreme performance. My company, 𝗞𝗲𝘆, is a personal growth hacking agency dedicated to empowering, inspiring, and educating individuals who pursue excellence to exponentially enhance the quality of their life by 10xing the only common denominator, themselves. And today we are going to have an amazing webinar on the topic of how to use our intuition. And I always like to start each and every one of my webinars or talks or discussions with a question. Asking you ladies, why would you want to learn to use your intuition? What's in it for you? In a sense, why would you be persistent and not give up on developing the skill? What if you do and what if you don't? Because if you don't have a strong why to do something, when the going gets tough, it's very easy to give up. That's why we always want to have a very strong reason why we are doing something, a reason why that moves us emotion. And every time that we feel down or feel like throwing in the towel and stuff, we can connect to and get extremely energized again and get back on track. So again, if you're willing to interact with me and share with us, or it's okay, you can keep it personal, whatever whatever you are comfortable with.
Can we just start, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. Okay, so for me, that would be like sometimes when I know something is not good for me or something that's not going to work, like maybe a person or a situation or a job or family member, and I have an instinct that for me, for my protection, it's better for me to stay away from this situation, and then I don't listen. And then I always find that I was right, but I didn't listen to my intuition. And so I ended up going on a path that was probably more destructive than productive. So I think that's what we were born with, this intuition that we can sharpen and make stronger. So I find that the times that I have listened to my intuition, it's worked out better for me. And the times that I haven't, it hasn't worked out well. Sometimes I've jumped the gun and judged a little bit too soon. but at the same time, I know that my intuition has definitely helped and guided me, even in situations, walking places, traveling, staying away from people, or even feeling like there's trouble around me or something's going to happen. So I feel like I'm very highly intuitive with situations and people and things around me. So that's one of the reasons why I would like to work on it more.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you already have the evidence, because it's important, especially these kind of esoteric or concepts, and they're not concepts, realities, but realities that you cannot really put your hands on or like really see or feel and touch in the physical sense, to have an evidence for it in your life. Because this is a wonderful saying that the lack of evidence is not an evidence of lack. So I always want you to keep this in mind. The fact that you lack evidence of something doesn't mean it does not exist.
Okay.
So that's great that you already have the evidence and you have this feeling. And it's interesting that all of you that have joined me are women, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just that women, you tend to be more connected to your feelings. And that's how, for the most part, intuition presents itself on a feeling level than on a thinking level. And with men, because men generally, masculine energy is very mind-centered and logical and rational, and always process things from a logical, rational perspective, always from the thinking center rather than the feeling center. There's a lot of disconnect, and there's no surprise that there haven't been any men to join us yet, but I hope they will. That would be wonderful for them too, because there's this difference how we process information, because at the end of the day, intuition is information, right? And having said that, anyone else would like to share what is their why?
Yeah, I'll share mine. I feel a strong connection when I feel like my intuition is at its highest, a connection with the divine, a connection with myself, and a connection with others. It just seems like more, like you said, more information to make the wiser choice.
Great. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the stronger our intuition becomes, the greater it's a sign that we're making greater progress in our spiritual evolution as a soul having a human experience, because ultimately that's what it is. We're not these mere mortal human bodies. We are way beyond this. The human body is the most amazing spacesuit that one can have. And the key is just to know how to use it and not get associated with it, meaning that this is my body, it's not myself. Because something that is ours that I call, oh, this is mine, cannot be you by default. All right, something that belongs to us cannot be us. So this is a very interesting subject to wrap our heads around as well. And as we go into this conversation, here is one thing I want to suggest, that you keep a very open mind, because the mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And especially during this conversation, I definitely invite you to have a very open mind and open mindset. Be willing to challenge your ideas. All of you have felt, experienced, and have evidence of your intuition, so that's great. But there might be some ideas that you can feel resistance to. So I do invite you to entertain them and listen and see which one resonates and feels true. Because one thing with me that we all have ways of how our intuition is being expressed. And with me, one of the most significant ways has always been that I had this innate feeling or knowing whenever listening to someone, if what they were saying was true or there was something off. It was some kind of like lie or whatever it was. It wasn't authentic. It wasn't true. It's not believable. And I also have a very open mind, but at the same time, I'm an open-minded skeptic, and the lines here are right above my eyes are actually signs of this, because there's an ancient science, China science, that about face reading that can tell you a lot about a person's personality or traits and so on. And those two right here signify that someone is a skeptic, meaning that they always, even though they haven't, let's say, maybe an open mind, which is not necessarily the case with everyone, but they're skeptical. So every time new information or evidence comes at them, they will always examine it and always be asking questions and analytically making sure that it's valid. So that's always been the case with me. I can always sense very clearly, not feeling wise, but just knowing in my head, like, yeah, this is true, this is not. So this is something to always be keenly aware of as you go into your daily life from here on. How is in what specific way is your intuition reaching you? Like, is it through feeling, seeing, hearing? And we're just gonna go into this in a little bit, the different ways, but always be aware of this. Very aware of it, because then you know what to look for and where to look for it. Now, already before we started, I alluded on this fact, but I want you all to know that every single human being has intuition. Every single human being has intuition. It's built into our being because, again, we are not human beings. We are souls having a human experience, meaning that we have human bodies as vessels that take us through this experience we call life. And our main sense as souls having any experience is this intuition. And intuition ties into any sense that we have, regardless if the sense or the information is coming through the senses in the body or through information that's available in the quantum field or the ether or the field of energy that everything is suspended in, that we have access to on a soul level rather than physically, because that's the difference. Through intuition, or with intuition, we access information that is not available to our senses, right? Our vision, our hearing, our sense of smell, the sense of taste we have, and the sensations or feelings through our skin and throughout the body. We have these 5, but they are very limited in scope. And anyone who understands how they work can tell you that you cannot trust your physical senses. They're sufficient to a very small degree. Outside of this, they can lie to you. They hide a lot of things. I mean, we all know that if we take a prism and run sunlight through it, all of the colors in the rainbow are in it in a very vivid way, right? But when we look at the sun or we look outside, what we see just kind of this white light. This is just a great example of how much our senses are incapable, the built-in senses of the body are incapable of capturing and collecting the information or data that's around us of what's happening. And the sense that actually fills in the gap left is our intuition, because we are souls having a human experience, and our intuition is the divine ability we all have. Now, do we have the ability to use it, and how we use it? Again, this has to do with personal choice. Bring up how have you brought up in the family you use, the beliefs, the so on and so on. What were you exposed to? What movies you watched and so on. But for all of you who have doubts still, I would recommend that you watch this specific documentary. It's called The Third Eye Spies. And it's a documentary about the 20-year-long research the CIA did with partnership with Stanford University back in the 60s for remote viewing, or training spy agents to spy on distant locations in Russia or anywhere around the globe, or even on submarines and all kinds of unusual places to steal information by using their intuitive ability to see things that are information that is not available to the senses. So for all the doubters out there, watch this documentary. It'll open your eyes to some realities that have been out there for a very long time, but they're just not mainstream information. Because if you subscribe to the cult, or if you're part of society one way or another, you're part of the cult of mediocrity, because that's what society is all about. Normalizing mediocrity rather than allowing us to excel at what we do and to really realize our gifts and bring them to the world, which is something that I'm truly passionate about. And that's why I'm hosting all the webinars I'm doing, and also specifically this one, because through intuition is how we can really follow our soul's path in this reincarnation and get to a place where we can be of service and contribution, grow, and have an amazing life simultaneously in the process. So every single human being has intuition, whether you know it or not, or whether you knew it or you use it or not, you have it. It's just like one of those apps you have installed on your phone that you maybe installed and totally forget about it, somewhere in the background. And I can guarantee you all that if you go back into your childhood, this is when it's going to be highly expressed, because in those early years, all of these abilities we have are finely tuned and well expressed. And it's after we are 5, 6, 7 years old when we start to be conditioned and programmed. We enter a school system and all these linear thinking systems that literally what they do is they brainwash us to become these mindless consumers, or whatever you want to call it. All of these abilities are just buried underneath a lot of crap. But if you go back and recall your early childhood, you're going to have, I can guarantee you, at least a handful of good examples of how you've been in highly intuitive in various moments, regardless of how it shows up in your condition, because with everyone it's different. So this is exactly what intuition is. We have 5 physical senses that are part of our body, through which we can experience the external environment around us. However, they're insufficient and they're very limited in scope. Now, for all of you who doubt what I'm saying right now, and you are like very, very materialistic in the sense of you grounded, like I can only trust my senses, I will give you this example, a very simple experiment that you can do in your home, not complicated as necessary, to see how inaccurate your senses are and how much you can trust them to make sense of the environment around you. What is required is 3 buckets. 3 buckets deep enough for you to dip your hands up to here. Now, 1 bucket needs to be with warm water, not hot water where you're going to burn yourself, but like warm water. The other one is cold water, and then you have one in the middle, which is lukewarm or room temperature water. What is required in this simple experiment is for you to dip one of your hands in the hot water bucket, one of your hands in the cold water bucket, keep them there for a minute, and then put them both simultaneously in the middle bucket and see what you experience. You will be very surprised what you experience. I definitely recommend you test this out so you have some ideas of what I'm talking about, because everything I'm sharing with you is based on facts. It's not things I'm making up. It's fundamentally important to get to the point where you start to understand that the physical senses have a very dramatic limitation. Just like, for example, we take wireless communication, radio, all these things, TV for granted. but we don't see, feel, or touch where it comes from, but we know it's there, right? It's invisible to us. Or the dog whistles. You can blow the dog whistle, the dog would come, but your ears would never register any noise. How is this possible? So this intuition is that sixth sense or extra sensory perception. That's the technical name for it. Meaning that through intuition, you can acquire information that is not available to the five senses. Meaning that now you have full experience. You know exactly what's going on. The more connected you're to your intuition, the more of the information you can capture and bring into your experience and then be able to use to make better decisions and so on in your life, which is fundamental because without good quality data, it's very hard to make educated choices. And the one thing that we have outside of our predominantly habitual and pattern-based behavior living in the human body is the free will that we have. And this free will is expressed when we have the choice over what we do, what we don't do, and so on and so on. And as Anush already mentioned, using intuition to make better decisions is a very powerful thing to do. Now let's talk about the different types of intuition, because there's intuition in general, there's just intuition, but there are different ways it's expressed. And how it's expressed varies with everyone. From what I understand, in most people, it tends to be one is a predominant, and there is a secondary way that it's expressed. And maybe even more as we begin to develop further this ability. But initially, it's always one of these will be highly expressed, and then there'll be secondary, kind of like acting as a secondary. The first one is called clairvoyance, or being able to see information that your eyes don't see. So having visions of things. Maybe it's while you sleep, maybe it's while you're waking day, you have a daydream or whatever, but the first one is clairvoyance, being able to see things. And all of the intuitive senses, they are directly correlated or connected to the actual physical senses, or they have to do with the very same ability. And we'll go into this deeper as we go. The next one is clairaudience, or be able to hear things. Hear things not with your actual ears, but intuitively hear things. Voices speaking to you, some noises, some sounds, whatever that could be. The next one is clairsentience, or gut feeling. The most popular term for this is gut feeling, being able to feel things in your environment. Again, you meet someone, you feel something's wrong with this person, like your intuition is giving you information like stay away, or you get yourself in some situation, whatever it is, it's just you are able to feel almost viscerally in your body that something's off. Usually that's the case it works with. It also works with when you meet, again, in my case, just talking from example, my clairsentience or ability to know through feeling is very strong, and it's always been strong. And I always, whenever I'm meeting new people, I can already feel like, yeah, we can connect. There's something off with this person. There's something off in there. Maybe they're thinking too much, whatever it is. I'm always able to really feel and connect with this person on a feeling level and get a clear reading of it. So this has been very strong for me, and I know it's expressed in a lot of people too, because it tends to be, again, we're driven, or our human experience is driven by our sensations and the feelings we experience, because without them, we cannot make any sense of our experience. The next one is claircognizance, which in essence means that you know things without even learning them. Like this is the other one that is very, very strongly expressed in my condition. I can, for example, first know if something is true when someone's sharing information with me or listening to something, or as I'm just sitting, relaxed, all of a sudden I have these downloads, like all this information, these ideas that are not my ideas, meaning I didn't think of them. I wasn't thinking about them. All of a sudden they just enter into my mind. So this is clear cognizance, the ability to know things without having to learn them, just having, in a way, almost like a connection to the cloud, where all the information in the world is stored. Now, the next one is clairalience, which is the ability to smell things that are not present, being able to sense smells, sometimes even through the realm of souls and spirit, a place that is not, again, visible or perceptible to our five senses. So some advanced, very advanced state of being able to smell things, and just it could be expressed in many ways and could be used in many ways. Some of those people, from what I understand, that have the sense, I personally don't have it, are able to smell when they meet someone or look in objects and stuff. They are able to smell not the object, but to smell through their smell, to get a sense of this. Maybe this person has a good intention, maybe not. Maybe this is good for them, maybe not, and so on. So beyond just the smell itself, but it gives you, again, ability to make better decisions, to know more, to acquire more information about a situation. And the next one, or the final type, is clairgustance, or the ability to taste things without even, again, having anything in your mouth. You just can taste almost like the air or things in your environment. So this is the main 6 ways through which intuition is expressing itself within each one of us all. Now I want you to take a moment now and just reflect on what would be the predominant way your intuition is expressing itself. This is very important. So think about it and make a note. Reflect on this. And then also reflect on what's the secondary way. Is there another way that your intuition is expressing itself? And if you don't mind, please share with us. Type it in the box, unmute yourself, share with us what you think is, or what you know to be the way that your intuition is showing up in your life.
For me, it would be like my stomach hurts whenever I get upset. Like if I'm in an area where I don't like a person or I sense danger, the first thing is like the gut feeling. My stomach becomes inflamed, and I get a sense like I need to run or something, or my stomach tightens up. So it's like a protection, like a guard that I just become really uptight. I don't feel comfortable. It mainly hits my stomach. My stomach's the first to feel it.
That's wonderful. Well, from here on, always pay attention to this and don't ignore this sign when it comes up. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Tara is like, has them all expressed. Wonderful. Yeah, as we go and we connect, I mean, we all have them. It just, how do we use them? Are we able to use them, and so on? And Janet said clairsentience and claircognizance. Great.
More feeling than anything else, but I've experienced all of those at one time or another. It just comes whenever it comes. I never know what I'm going to get, but yeah, I've experienced pretty much everything. And dreams. Dreams have always been a big one.
Yeah.
So I don't know where. Is there a name for that?
Well, dreams are dreams. Dreams are, I don't think there is a name that I know of. Maybe there is a term that people use for that, but dreams are, let's put it this way. How would we know? I just want to throw out this question there, because in our human experience, how would we know what is dream and what isn't?
Yeah, that's
how
the
real
problem.
does our dreams feel to us while we dream? And then we wake up and so we say, this was a dream, the other one wasn't. Really? What makes you, gives you the confidence to say that this is a dream and the other one isn't? Where is the evidence?
Sometimes but sometimes I can't easily differentiate that. That's not even a question. Sometimes I've had dreams, like you said, out of body. I've had that. I've dreamed so many times of people coming to see me that have passed away. And those are, I mean, I know without a shadow of doubt it's real. Like there's not even a question in my mind. So, I mean, there's a lot of different dream forms,
No, absolutely. The dreams can vary and so on. But my point being is that while we dream, the experience itself feels as real as right now me sitting having a conversation with you. There is not any level of distinction in between. Because a dream is, think of it this way. While we're having this so-called real experience right now, our consciousness in a way is being projected into this body, and it's inhabiting it momentarily and having the experience again just by kind of like this is a spacesuit or how you call these drone. In a sense, it's almost like a drone that we can use in this experience somewhere, because there's a lot of scientific research, but none of it yet shows where human consciousness or the mind actually is, because we have the brain is like the hardware, but where does the actual data, information, and all this is stored? Where does it live? Science have no answers for those questions. So the mind or the consciousness, our soul, our spirit, can be having a lot of different experiences while we are having this experience. In a sense, while we're stuck in this so-called human real experience, while we sleep, when we disconnect, when the soul disconnects from the body, it can go and travel to different dimensions and live, for example, just an example, an alternative versions of reality, or something that could have happened but did not happen, and maybe just wanted it so badly to happen that it goes and have it. It's like a little child, because on the whole kind of scale of evolution of human consciousness, we can view Earth as kindergarten, literally. The level of human consciousness, especially you can see it nowadays with the way the way the hatred, the divide, all these like negativity that's out there. When you look at it, who does these things? Little kids in kindergarten that don't know better. Because there is a significant distinction between someone becoming physically mature or the body maturing and them reaching a level of emotional maturity. These are very distinct things. They don't mix whatsoever, because the body will mature no matter what. You don't have to do anything about it. Actually, you don't have any control of it. However, emotional maturity is something every human being or every soul having a human experience have to do. So dreams are this very interesting space that our soul can go and play full out without having the same level of repercussions that are possible here. Because here, when you crash, let's say if you have a car accident, the results are quite severe. Where in a dream, if you go and crash or you do something stupid or whatever, doesn't really matter. Your spacesuit is not going to be damaged. So the dreams give us a lot more space to play with. So they're more like a playing space where the soul goes to play. And some people that train and practice lucid dreaming, they could be actually conscious while they dream and direct the dream, where they take the dream where they want to go to. So it almost turns like a real virtual experience video game that all of these gaming companies wish they could create. So this is a very interesting space. The dream space is definitely interesting. And me personally, I have dreams every night. The key with dreams is to remember them. And again, if you really want to be able to engage with the dreams at a higher level to become a lucid dreamer, and this is something you train yourself to do, and it's not something we're going to cover today, but it's absolutely possible. And a lot of the great inventors in the past, like Nikola Tesla, Edison, Thomas Edison also, and a lot of other ones had their major innovations or inventions came to them in their dreams while they were just having a little nap in the middle of the day and so on. I know from reading books and so on that Tesla and the other gentlemen, they created a lot of their main inventions through inspirations or visions they had in their dreams. So dreams are definitely a great source of intuitive information. The key is just to be able to remember. And if that's something that's an issue, I'll give you a little hack about it, or it's actually a big hack. When you wake up in the morning, to be able to recall your dreams, don't open up your eyes. Lay in bed with closed eyes and just try to remember what your dreams were about. Or don't get engaged right away with your phone or any kind of external information. Just be in a very quiet headspace, so all these memories can get back to the surface if you forgot what your dreams were about. So that's a very powerful way to be able to remember what your dreams were about. Yeah, it's Thomas Edison actually was famous that what he used to do, he would take these naps in the middle of the day, and what he was doing was getting his mind in a very quiet space in what is known as theta, or between theta and delta brain frequencies, where you have a very highly intuitive perception. And what he would do is he'll be holding a big, solid and heavy metal ball in his hand. And when he falls asleep, the moment he's actually falling asleep, his muscles will become loose. He'll drop the ball on the ground and he'll wake up in that state. So he was doing this on purpose to be able to put himself in a much more quieter mind space from where he can have a higher intuitive perception to work on ideas and so on, which is where all innovation comes from. Another example, Nikola Tesla never credited any of his inventions to himself. He always said that these ideas came to him. He did not create the ideas. These ideas were given to him or delivered to him. It wasn't him that was thinking about it. So I guess in a lot of respects, he was someone like me in the sense where I get these ideas in my head. I know they're not mine, in the sense I never thought of them. I'm sitting there and they're just downloaded into my consciousness. So I already shared with you this again, but for all of the folks out there that's going to watch the webinar and have a doubt about intuition, again, the CIA, it's declassified. I've actually seen the documents about it. They declassified it maybe 10 years ago. It's called Project Stargate for remote viewing, which was in cooperation with Stanford University that went on for 20 years. They spent $20 million on it, and there were great information and examples of how they were able to train remote viewing agents who Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. This is done on purpose. Who says? Here is a question that my mentor asked me some time ago that really made me think. The question is, who says that your thoughts are yours? Especially those that linger in your mind from nowhere. You know how you have thoughts in your mind that you're not, because here's the thing. Thinking is a conscious, proactive process, meaning you sit down because you want to think about something in particular. And it's a skill every human being needs to develop, especially to concentrate the thinking process on one specific thought. This is extremely important. All successful people in life have succeeded because they were able to concentrate and focus on specific thoughts, ideas, and so on for prolonged periods of time. So this is a conscious process. Now, outside of this, when we're sitting around just going through our day, who says that these thoughts that just pop into our mind are our thoughts? We didn't think about them. Because again, I just explained what thinking is. So if we're not thinking about them, who is thinking about it and planting them as little seeds in our head? And why for? Or what's the reason behind? Maybe there's a lesson for us to learn. Maybe again, it's an intuitive call for something for us to pay attention. Now, here's a very important thing I want you to start using from here on to create a distinction of what is intuition and what isn't. Now, especially with the ideas, with thoughts and so on, here are two things that are extremely important that will give you a very clear distinction of, yes, this is intuitive thought, or this is an intuitive idea, or whatever it is, and it is not. If it's an intuitive idea or thought, I can guarantee you never had this thought before. Because if you could have thought about something, you would have already thought about it. So that's why in a lot of regards, when you have a problem to solve, don't sit down and overthink it because you're not going to solve anything. What is required is to start seeing the problem from a different perspective, to change the context or the way you hold it in your head. Your perception, your perspective about the problem needs to change. Because the moment you change your point of view, you no longer have a problem. Circumstances are the same, but the problem is not there. So it's not the thinking that solves it. So always being conscious of, is this idea, is this thought, this vision, the sound I'm hearing, the taste, whatever, however, again, your intuition is expressing itself within your body. Being conscious of, is this me? Or you mean like, have I ever had this before or not? Is it something unique? Now, the second thing is, how do you feel about it? Do you feel empowered or do you feel disempowered? Meaning, is this thing that's something that's inspiring me to take action and expand who I am? Or is this kind of like my ego? Because the opposite is the ego just keeping me in my little comfort zone to keep me safe. Because if it's not something that's actually giving you guidance to go and play out and be audacious, then it's probably not your intuition, because your intuition is not going to guide you into something that's going to keep you comfortable, with the exception of the gut feeling. But this is very different, just as Anush shared, and it always occurs in the belly, in the gut. That's why it's gut feeling, right? When you feel that something in a situation is wrong, and you should definitely or make an effort to get yourself out of the situation and move somewhere else. With exception of this, is that the case? So always being mindful of those two things. Is this an original idea, thought, or something that I'm experiencing, or this is something I've had before? And second, is it empowering me? Is it championing me? Is it pushing me to stretch my comfort zone? Or is it trying to hold me in my comfort zone? Because with the gut feeling, it's not trying to hold you in your comfort zone. It's actually, the message is coming so you are safe And you can be in your comfort zone, because you wouldn't be having this experience if you're in your comfort zone. So this is very important, a few distinctions that I can offer to you guys to always keep in mind if you want to analyze if the piece of guidance that you're getting is intuitive, or maybe it's just your ego and your mind playing tricks on you. Because we need to have a level of distinction of be like, oh, this is intuition, this is not, and so on and so on. Now, let's talk about actually how intuition works, or what is known to be, or a great probability of how it's working. Because at the end of the day, in our modern society, especially ever since the last 100 years, since the educational system was created, and I'm not going to go into detail of how dysfunctional it is and what was the reason to be created the way it is, because it's not something that I'm really passionate about, how dysfunctional and how purposefully built was. It was to literally disempower, uneducate, and confuse people to be nothing but mindless consumers that are good at going to work, earning a paycheck, and spending it on things that they don't need in their life. Because that's what it was created for, by a handful of very wealthy industrial billionaires or magnates at their time. Because it's very interesting, just to kind of support what I'm just saying, is that, for example, Rothschild, Carnegie, and all these very successful businessmen would be the heads of the board of education, or whatever this main regulatory body was that originally created the educational system. They are looking for employees, for people that's not going to challenge them, people that can go to work, do what's required, follow A, B, C, D steps, and go home, don't ask questions, do not have any level of authority or free thinking and will. It's just A to B, B to C, C to D, and that's it, right? To be in the box. And this is why I'm actually mentioning this, because in our modern society, we still are predominantly left brain based in our thinking and being throughout the day. We've been, especially in the Western world, 99.9% of the population has been extremely well trained to use their logic, rationale, and just linear way of thinking, which is all about following instructions and process in a specific linear step-by-step way. I mean, we cannot argue more or less whatsoever about this. And it has to do only with being concerned with the external environment, right? Because our left brain allows us to navigate through our day, to go around obstacles, to navigate from point A to point B, and so on. So it's always externally concerned. However, if we are to rely on our logical brains for the rest of our lives, we're going to be living a very miserable life, devoid of any joy and fulfillment. A life that's highly logical, highly safe, and all these things, but miserable, full of suffering and pain. Because the mind, again, as I already alluded, is a great servant, but very poor or lousy leader, because it's not for you to listen your mind or to use your mind to lead you. Your mind is like a navigation. It can navigate you once you know where you want to go in life. And bringing up the point of what's the one thing that's going to make your intuition, or really turn on your intuition and get it to work day in and day out, day in and day out. This one thing is having a very clear vision of where you want to go in life. Or, as Napoleon Hill stated, a definite chief aim. And what I mean by this, you have a specific end goal which you want to reach. at some point in your life that not only do you want to reach, but you can feel right now. The more you can feel it as if it was happening and feel the emotions and visualize it and experience it, the more real it becomes. Because what is required is for the subconscious mind, the part of the mind that we don't have access to take it in and realize that this is something important, because this is where the intuition is coming from, or from the depth of the mind, not from our conscious, minuscule access that we have to the mind itself. The conscious mind is great for leading us, for using free will to will us to do something, right? When we want to break a bad habit or install a new habit or do something in our life, it's when the will comes in, or when we want to focus and concentrate on things. This is where we need the free will or the conscious mind. But after that, again, this is just a rough estimate of what is popularly shared. Again, there's no specific data on it, but as the saying goes, 5% of our mind, or ability to use our mind, is only 5%. The conscious mind makes 5% of the mind, where the subconscious mind is 95% of it. So what is the key with having a very strong intuition, or intuition that guides you and gives you the signs and information that can guide you to where you want to go in life, is having a very clear, definite chief aim in life. Not only having it very clear, but getting it to the point where it becomes your obsession. It's something that you connect to every single day, because the subconscious mind learns through repetition. Repetition is fundamental. And the more emotionally engaged you can be when you visualize, when you feel, when you see that vision, or you think about this definite chief aim, the more significant will be how well it's stored, and what's the meaning that the subconscious mind is creating about this thought that you're having. Because in simple words, what you need to do is to sell your subconscious mind on this vision of yours. If you're successful at this, your subconscious mind will give you all the clues, will get you to do the things you need to do to get there, step by step by step by step. It's not going to give you, again, the whole A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all to Z, all the steps, but it's going to give you the guidance, a step-by-step process. Because what is stopping every single human being that has great aspirations in life to achieve something is that they're locked up in their rational, logical mind, trying to basically plan everything from point A to point Z. Well, this is not how it works. If that's what you're trying to do, you will be highly disappointed, experience a lot of stress and disappointments in your life, because I would imagine all of us have had great plans about things and really want them to happen. But the moment we took first step on the plan, the next 10 were already out of the door because something unexpected happened, right? So it's not about playing by the plan. It's about taking action on the whatever step is obvious to us right now. So taking one step at a time, because there is this, maybe some of you don't know, but for those of you who play video games, I'll give this analogy. In video games, there is this concept of the fog of war. So there's always a little map on the left or the right bottom of the screen, which kind of gives you the map of the whole territory, which as you begin the game, it's always like there's a little bubble where you see around your player or your character, and everything else is dark. It's just black. And as you take every step, this fog begins to disappear little by little. And each step you take, eventually the whole map is clear. But this is a process that only begins and ends by you taking whatever is the obvious step in front of you, whatever this seems to be. And a lot of the times it's guided through intuition. And here's something very important. that I want you to understand, so you're not going to be disappointed where, again, when those intuitive guidances come in and you take action on them, I don't want you to expect or set the expectation that it will play out exactly as your intuition is saying. Your intuition is basically, in a way, you can look at it as your coach. It's going to push you to go in that direction. And it's not necessarily going to be the outcome that you're thinking, you're seeing, you're hearing that you're going to have. But however, what it's going to do is to put you in the right trajectory that you should follow rather than not. Because think of it this way. If you are to change your trajectory 1 degree today, in 365 days from today, you'll end up in a very different place in your life than you will be if you're just to follow your logical, rational thinking. So that's how it's so important. It's not necessarily because it's always going to play out the way you saw it, the way you heard it, the way the thoughts came into your mind, but it's going to put you in the right trajectory or point you in the better direction that you should be pointing to. So the next part is, again, using our left side of the brain, rationality, logic, and so on. There's nothing wrong with this, right? It just, why are we using only this when there's a whole right side of the brain? If we have a huge chunk of brain that's unique and so powerful, why are we just using like 50% out of it? What about the other 50%? Why are we ignoring this significant thing? So the right side of the brain is credited with actually where creativity, intuition, imagination, and so on comes actually from. It's the visual part of the brain. It actually works through visions, through metaphors, through symbolisms. That's why in all ancient societies and cultures, there was always all these powerful symbolism and metaphors they were using. It was always structured in a metaphorical and symbolical way. And understanding the symbolism is actually something very powerful if you're interested in learning some of those esoteric texts and books and so on, because it's all hidden in the symbolism and how the subconscious mind is influenced by it, because that's the key. Getting the subconscious mind to be influenced or to buy into whatever you want to your outcome to be eventually. And since the right side of the mind is concerned with all these things, is also concerned with our inner world or our inner experience. So always be aware of this fact that it's not because there's something wrong with us, but it's because we've been trained, brainwashed, and programmed to be this left-minded creatures and ignore half of the rest of our brain ever since early childhood, that we lack strong connection to intuition and all these other abilities. Now, obviously, there are exceptions. There are people that are highly creative and so on. Maybe they grew up in an environment where this was encouraged. Their parents were open to these ideas. They maybe were not educated in the traditional way, which is, again, following structure. And again, what do they test you in school? In regurgitating information without making mistakes. Well, here's the thing. Nobody in life succeeds if they haven't failed or made mistakes. Thinking that you can go through life and never making a mistake, you have to be insane. Like, the most successful people in life were people that have failed and failed and failed and failed, and finally, because through all this failure, they weren't really failing. They were getting feedback. They were learning all these lessons that nobody learns when things go just your way. Because when you are not failing, you're not learning anything. There's much you can learn in success. The biggest lessons are always in the failure. So by being educated in the system where we were trained to always give the right answer, or if we don't give the right answer, we fail, is what is contributing for how our society nowadays is. and its own limitations and so on. Because we weren't encouraged to make mistakes, to take big shots, to dream big, to think big, to use creativity, to use our intuitive sense. We were just steered to the left, think logically, think clearly. Again, it's a powerful tool, but it's just one tool that we have available to. And one of the most significantly powerful abilities that the logical, rational mind has is to dissect or to cut things. And that's great. If you needed a knife to cut something in your life, but if all you need going through, or all you use going through your life is a knife, you as the main tool in your life, you'll be living a lot of things with bad cuts in them. Because no matter how thin you slice it, there's always two sides to something. So it's always being aware of this fact, and then again working on the intuition. And how do we work on it? This is exactly what we're going to talk about it. But the first part, the most fundamental point, is having a definite chief aim or a clear vision for your life. This is fundamental, and you have to repeat it and see it. The key is to see it and feel it, because again, the subconscious mind, and especially the right mind or the right side of the mind, works in pictures. It does not works in words. Nobody, when we having thoughts, we don't see our thoughts as lines of text running. We see pictures. It's always the mind works in pictures. So if you want to communicate with your subconscious mind, you always want to put it into terms of pictures. You want to be able to visualize it, and the more you can feel it, the more powerful it becomes. So the subconscious mind buys into it. But you have to be doing it repetitively until the point where you're gonna see that your intuition will start to pop out with all these guidances to get you there. And again, don't count on these things to always come true or be right, but they're gonna put you on the right trajectory. And even if they don't put you in the right trajectory, maybe that was the lesson you needed to learn at this point to become better. So next time when this opportunity that's gonna be the one defining thing that's gonna get you to closer to your vision, you'll be able to actually take advantage of this opportunity and do whatever is necessary. So always think of it this way. We don't want to be thinking short term, around the corner kind of vision, because as Steve Jobs also said, and he was a highly intuitive man as well, you can never connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backwards. Because if we are to do some deep reflection right now and reflect on all the things that happened to us, that maybe at that moment we thought, well, this is the worst, like it's the end of the world. It was the worst thing ever that happened to you. Eventually, 5 years down the road, maybe even a year or so on, you would acknowledge that this was great. Back then, at the moment, it didn't feel great. But eventually, you realize that actually this was a significantly good thing that happened for you on the big picture of things, right? Once you zoomed out and you're not fully zoomed all the way in, and you can see the whole layout of the land, you can have a much more clear idea of is it better, is it worse, and so on. So don't rush to make conclusions in the moment what something is. Is it good or is it not? Actually, a great skill to develop. This is advanced, and it's gonna definitely take you outside of your comfort zone. It's something very simple but hard to do, is to celebrate every outcome in your life, regardless if it's something that you want or something that you don't. Always, whatever happens, even if it's the worst thing that you can think of and completely the opposite of what you were hoping for, celebrate it. Because you don't know if this is going to be the thing that needed to happen for you 6 months down the road from now to be where you need to be. Again, because in the very moment when these things occur, we have no clarity. There's no way for us to see, because our logical mind is trying to collect all the pieces and put them together and make sense of it. But it's unable to, because it works in a very limited scope. So we don't want to box ourselves in this kind of like corner. We always want to be coming from a place of, yes, it's not obvious to me how this is benefiting me, but if you adopt the belief that everything that happens in your life is happening for you, this is going to change everything. Because again, it's not the problems that we have or the content and circumstances in our life, it's the context or how we hold it in our heads that makes the difference. So our intuition, again, gives us this ability to have access to information that is not available or coming through, or we are unable to perceive through our 5 bodily senses. So in essence, our intuition is connected to the main field of information. Scientists call it the quantum field. You can call it whatever you want. The etheric space, I call it the cloud. It's the space where all of the information in the world from the very early creation of this universe is stored, and everyone have access to it if you know how to tune into it and use it. So obviously, with advanced intuition, we can access information and channel this information that is not available to the senses, but is there and obviously stored. And again, if, as you were, I think Tara was alluding on this in the chat box, when a person, for example, when a person is the right person, meaning they have the trades, they have whatever is necessary to bring an idea or something important that humanity should have or achieve or so on to fruition, they are the person for that. The quantum field will implant that seed in their mind. They'll send it the idea, the vision, whatever it is, for them to do it. Because again, there's not many books written on all these things where you can actually go and see the data, but all of these major human inventions, big steps, achievements, progress, they were always driven from an intuitive place. They weren't driven from logical thinking, because if we are all stuck thinking logically, we'll be playing life as safe and predictable as we possibly could, because the mind can only create, and what I mean the mind, the logical, rational side of the brain can only create a house from the bricks it already has. It cannot create new bricks. You can reshuffle them in infinite ways, but it will still be building a house from the same bricks it has. So no new ideas come into the mind, in the logical mind. It always comes through intuition. What is important to develop our intuition as we step into actually developing our intuition is to most importantly is to take action on our intuitive clues. Because you can think of intuition as a guest. When a guest comes into your house and they don't feel welcome when they do, they're probably not going to return into your house. So you want to be very open, welcoming your guests or the guest of intuition, and always taking action on those clues. Because this in a way shows your intuition that it's welcome and it's respected and has place in your life. Because if you're not taking action on it, just like whenever was the moment when you lost it growing up through childhood and whatever, it kind of like becomes silent, it'll do the same thing again. So you want to be taking action. And again, not coming from a place of being very dependent on the outcome that's going to happen and expecting for things to happen exactly as your intuitive guidance guided to or told you they will, but to be taking action and see where this leads you. Because it's not necessarily about what's going to happen in the next step. It's about, again, connecting those steps backwards and seeing where it took you, or how different your trajectory in life is today than it was whenever 3 months before when you actually start taking action and listening to your intuition and following this guidance. This is fundamental. If we don't trust or we don't take action on our intuition, we cannot expect for it to be showing up for us often, if at all. So we need to be taking action. We need to show it through action that we're actually doing something about it. Now, somebody already, I think it was Janet actually, we were talking about this, but the next fundamentally important thing, really, to be able to hear, know, and sense your intuition is meditation. Meditation is fundamentally important for anything in life, including intuition, because through the normal day, as we go, our mind is very loud and busy. It's overactive. If you sit down for a moment and you're not a meditator and just notice your mind's process, you'll notice that even when you're not thinking about anything, it's just going through a lot of thoughts all the time, nonstop. One thought, another thought, this thought, that thought. So you always have this, your mental space is always preoccupied with all these thoughts. Well, intuitive senses, intuitive knowing, all these things, they're very subtle. They're not as loud as the mind's meditation, all this mental chatter. So in order for you to be able to hear them, to know them, to see them, and so on, you need to be quieting down the volume of your mind so all these information can come through and have space for it to exist in your consciousness, rather than being overpowered by all the loudness in your head. Now, I know with me, when I started, what has it been now, 4 or 5 years ago, seriously meditating on a daily basis, how significantly my intuitive ability changed, or dramatically I had the capacity to really know. Because the way I like to describe it is, until you've really developed a daily meditation habit and practice, you're literally, what you have in your mind or in your head is a little kid or a little puppy that likes to piss or take a poop anywhere it likes at any time it likes. Meaning you're not the king in the castle, you're not the one leading the show, your mind is. It's like a little child having a tantrum every single day, just all over the place, always. In Buddhist culture, they call the mind a drunken monkey, because it swings from one branch to the next, or from one tree to the next. So it's always off to something. And for those of you who meditate, you probably know how beautiful and powerful it is when you can be just sitting peacefully in silence and just have an open mind, empty mind, where there's not a single thought in your mind for minutes and maybe even hours. When you're just so peace and tranquil that you can hear everything or sense everything within your body. You're so present and grounded that if there was an intuitive thought, idea, or feeling, or sound or vision, you would definitely register it. So this is why it's so fundamental to develop a daily meditation practice. Now, everyone has different ways to go about it, different ideas, what works, what doesn't. I'll share with you what worked for me and what I recommend for everyone, because it's a very powerful meditation technique that has been proven for centuries. It's known to be the meditation practice that Buddha himself gave to his disciples and so on. So it's a meditation practice that's been around for thousands of years. It's been tested and it works. It's called Vipassana meditation. It's a form of awareness meditation that allows you to be very present and grounded in your body and experience sensations in your body and clear your mind of thoughts. In a sense, by being focused on what's occurring within you and your external environment, you lower down the noise of all the thoughts and nonsense that's been going on in your head. Because always, if it's mental chatter, most of it is just repetitive, useless thoughts that you shouldn't be having. Because not only would you be able to have stronger capacity to notice and register your intuition, but you're always gonna have a tremendously more powerful cognitive capacity. Because think of it this way: if we look at the mind as an engine that runs a combustion engine that runs on gas or diesel or whatever it is, has revs. It can rev anytime it's on. It goes from idle, which would be around 1,000 revolutions per minute, to maybe 9,000, depending if it's high performance engine. If your mind is always in the red, meaning it never goes into idle, and it's always in the red line, there is not much further it can go, right? In the red line means it doesn't rev anymore. So if your mind is constantly in the red line, you're literally wasting away cognitive energy and power just on mindless thoughts that are just repetitive, and most of the time are thoughts that are not taking you to places where you want to visit anyways. So this is why meditation is such a powerful tool, because it empowers you and enables you to really get grounded and disconnect your mind, so you can put your mind in idle whenever you don't want to use it. Because again, we don't need to use the navigation in our car every time we go for a drive, do we? We need it once in a while, but that's not always the case. So we don't want the navigation system to be always on and screaming at us, take a left here, make a right there, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? We want to have this peaceful, silent time to just enjoy and be, because at the end of the day, that's why we call human beings, not human doings. So we can just be in those moments when we have this time to just lay back, relax, disconnect from all of the daily nonsense and hear the intuition, because we need to make space of it. If we're going like some crazy busy person, always busy, stressed out and so on, how do you expect a person like this to have any sense of intuition? It's impossible. They're in heightened beta brainwave, which is what people in highly stressed or agitated and so on, very busy people are. And that brainwaves, your mind doesn't have any access to any intuitive guidance whatsoever. It just literally, it's like if your radio's volume is turned all the way up and your intuitive receptor is turned out all the way down. The chances of you having any intuitive guidance ability, 0 to none. So how do we actually train our intuition? This is something very powerful that you can do on a daily basis. And not only is it powerful to train your intuition, but it's also a powerful way for you to sell your subconscious mind on your vision or a definite chief aim. Now, this method is called associated visualization. What do I mean by this? You visualize the ultimate outcome that you wish to have in your life for whatever your big dream, goal, vision it is. You visualize it as you are living it right now, as that you are seeing it through first-person view, through your own eyes. Rather than seeing yourself from the side, you're seeing it from your own eyes. You're feeling it. You're feeling all the sensations. You're hearing all the sounds. You're smelling what's in the air. You're tasting whatever, maybe food or whatever. So engaging all of your senses, all of the senses simultaneously, while being in this mental space of visualization that is all imaginatory. This is how you actually train those abilities, because here is the thing. We have eyes and ears because we can see and hear, not the other way around. Meaning that our eyes and our ears do not give us the ability to see and hear. We already have this ability. Our soul has this ability. And that's why we have eyes and ears. Because they're an extension to that sense already. They don't create the sense itself. So this is why it's important to start creating or being in these states of associated visualization where you close your eyes sometime of the day. Best time to do it is after meditating. If you meditate after meditation, because the mind is the most quiet and you're in the deepest mental brainwaves or brainwaves that you can be at that moment, which is great as well to connect to the field. So practicing this daily, associating and feeling all of these sensations and feelings, not through your body, but through your intuitive senses, because this is, in essence, what's happening. So with that being said, this is all I have for you today. I hope this was useful, and I would open the webinar now for questions, comments, and so on, and see if there's any question you guys would like me to answer. I'm very happy to do so and offer you some more insights. So please free to unmute yourself or, hey, go ahead, Tara.
No, I don't really have any questions. It was good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good stuff.
So let me ask you this. What are you committing to doing tomorrow about your intuition?
Let's see. I already meditate. I'm a big meditator. So
Okay.
that's a given. I think maybe working on the dreams a little bit more would be a good thing for me to do. So I've been trying to do that with the lucid dreaming. Remembering the dreams, that was a good one. Like just laying in bed and closing my eyes and trying to not jump up out of bed.
Nice.
So I think
there's definitely courses and books on lucid dreamings. I cannot come up with a specific thing, but here's one that really works. From what I understand, the simplest thing. If you on a daily basis, and like means every 20-30 minutes throughout the day, as you go ask yourself, is this a dream? Is this a dream? Is this a dream? Eventually this will become a habit. So when you're in a dream, you will, let's say you ask yourself, is this a dream? And you'll realize you're in a dream. And then you can actually start to learn how to navigate and control the dream, or at least it's developing.
Yeah, I've got to remember to do that. That's good. Thank you. Very good.
So that's something you can start practicing daily. Because
Yeah,
again, at the end of the day, it's wonderful me sharing all this information. I love doing this, but it's what action you're going to take on it tomorrow and how you're going to start applying it into your life that's going to create the results. Just knowing the information is not going to do any difference.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. What about you, Janet?
So I'm going to commit to doing the visualization after meditation. That's a new one for me.
Yeah, please do so, and don't rush. Allow yourself. It's obviously, if it's something new, allow yourself to get into it. It's gonna take you some practice. How is your imagination in general? Are you able to easily visualize things, see things, and so on?
Yeah, I mean that'll be good. It'll be fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. Great information.
Yeah, glad to share and inspire you guys to take action, especially take action. That's my biggest thing. Take action. Don't just linger on this information, but take action, especially as it's you're still excited about it and it's fresh in your mind, rather than waiting for days and so on. And yeah, I'm gonna do it. but definitely the visualization is extremely powerful to use, and not just from the perspective of training your intuitive abilities or your intuitive perception, but also again to sell your subconscious mind on your dream, so it buys into it and starts to actually work in the background on your behalf to get you there. That's really the key there.
So, Martin, you said you had a series of these talks. Are they going to be certain nights? Or
Yes,
how do I get that information?
yes. I'm actually, let me just grab the link here from my Eventbrite. So I'm going to share the link with you, and you can bookmark it and see all of the different webinars I have coming up. Like this is number 7 now, but also, and I'll also share with you my YouTube channel, because all of the webinars are recorded. So you can watch the recording of the webinar. And for the webinars that I haven't posted yet or are upcoming, they're also 1 hour long or hour and 30 minutes or so lessons that I have recorded on the same subject. So if somebody's interested, they can watch the lesson first and see what we're going to be talking more in detail, and attend if interested. But yes, I have 12 different webinars I host. There are 3 each week, 1 on Monday, 1 on Wednesday, and 1 on Friday. And I'm going to share with you right now in the chat box my YouTube channel, where you can watch the recordings as well as all of the lessons for each one of the webinar. So let me do this first, and then I'll share with you my Eventbrite link, where you can see all the different webinars and the dates and so on, so you can also stay on top of the schedule. Let's see, where is my page? What were some insights for you today? Some things that really resonated with you?
I really enjoyed that when you were talking about Edison and Elon Musk, about using that, because sometimes it's something that's thought of as strange. Instead of, we use electricity, we see Teslas driving around. And so it is trusting that these, mainstream people are using this instead of fringe people. So that was helpful. And I think I also like the focusing on that end goal, having an end goal and focusing on it and letting things come up. That was really helpful for me. And then I thought it was interesting, all the different types of ways that intuition can manifest through different senses. But my top one was that associated visualization, to really, keep focusing on that instead of, saying, oh yeah, I have a goal, but it is following it with a passion. I'm obsessed with that goal. So I really appreciate that, Martin. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Obsession. That's the word. Obsession.
Yes.
Yeah, obsession. It's actually very interesting. I was reading some time ago the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the translation of those hieroglyphs and all these paintings that they had in one of the pyramids back in the day. And what was those Egyptologists saying, that in Egyptian culture, words were the same things as thoughts, or or a vision. There was this powerful, so where I'm going with this is, we have to be extremely intentional and specific with the words we use, because what we are doing without even knowing on a daily basis, with the way we speak, regardless of Is it internally with ourselves? Is it with the people in our environment, our family, loved ones, co-workers, and so on? We are programming our subconscious mind all the time with each single word we say. So we have to be very specific and intentional with the words we use. So, for example, obsession and so on. Another word I just wanted to point out, the word try is a bad one. It's definitely one to smash every time it shows up in your vocabulary, because you either do something or you don't. You don't try. It's as simple as that. If you want to be actually become good at doing it or being it. The only context that the word try could be used is if you wanted to try a new food or try something just for the experience of trying it, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna share with you now the link for all of my upcoming webinars after the YouTube one. So on Eventbrite, you can see all the upcoming webinars. Sign up for whichever one you like. Again, there's hour-long lessons for each one of them, so you can see if it's something that resonates with you. You find it interesting. There's plenty of value in the lessons as well. There is no interactivity, and that's always something that makes the experience better for everyone. Plus, especially in this conversation with you, being open to share how your intuition actually presents itself and so on, so others see an evidence of this and examples. Because again, there's always the evidence and examples are there. Just are you open mind-wise to entertain those ideas and obviously take it beyond being an idea and something you implement and you use in your life, in your daily life. Because I've been using my intuition for a very long time, and I just sometimes I'm like, wow, my intuition haven't given me any guidance lately. Like, I'm looking for something. give me something, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I get hung up on too. I want it every day. What's wrong? I want to know something every single day.
Yeah. Well, again, it's gonna show up when it shows up, and when it does, it's always good. So it's well worth the wait or the patience, and just being like, yeah, it's gonna come up when it's necessary, when it needs to. Again, guide me in the right, not necessarily direction, but put me in the right trajectory.
Right.
There is more in alignment, and again, the more connected you are to the vision or the end goal, the more vivid or the more expressed your intuition would be, especially from that perspective, outside of the gut feeling, because gut feeling is more for situations that we find ourselves in.
Right. Is everybody that's on this call, are you guys all from Mind Valley, or is somewhere other places?
So I'm from Mind Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, I just found it I downloaded the Connections app, and it was the first thing, and I thought, oh,
Wonderful.
looks like it's...
Yeah, they do I don't know what courses you've done. Have you done Be Extraordinary with the 6-phase meditation or 𝗫𝗍?
I have not.
Okay.
I just actually joined, my first thing to complete was Lifebook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just did. You were in Lifebook with me then. I just did that as well.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the 𝗫𝗍. The 𝗫𝗍 program is powerful, especially to train yourself to put yourself in a deep state of mind. It's definitely useful. The 6-phase meditation, I don't know. In my personal opinion, it's not very functional from the perspective of what meditation is about.
Right. That's the problem I have with I'm not a big visualization meditation person, but I've incorporated, now I'm doing several a day. So I do the 𝗫𝗍, but then I put a 6-phase, kind of my own version of a 6-phase in the 𝗫𝗍 in the morning. So I do the do the visualizations with that. And then I do other meditations at night.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I was going to say because 15 whatever minutes of meditation is not. It takes 15 minutes just to quiet the mind properly.
Right.
And no matter what meditator you are, you get in what you get out what you put in. It's simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
It's a great. Let me put it this way: it's a great meditation for those who are new into meditation and want a guided meditation. But ultimately, you want to be guiding yourself. You want to be extremely proficient doing it yourself, because guided meditation is like the little balancing wheel on the bicycle. You use them until you are able to balance yourself. You don't use them afterwards.
But I think too, it depends on what level you're at. If you're somebody who's new to meditation, you don't want to jump into some meditations are not for people to just jump into. I don't think, from my experience, I've been meditating since I was a kid. So for me, some of the more advanced things I can do, but I mean, there's people who have never meditated and all of a sudden are jumping into it. And so, yeah, for them, I always recommend start with something real simple. Let's do this, or,
No, some of the. Now I'm connecting the dots. So you're highly intuitive. You've been since childhood, and you meditate since childhood. So you can see the correlation there.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, but I was intuitive before I meditated, before I even knew about meditation. I think I was probably about 10 when I started meditating. And even as a small child, I knew, I was just constantly having visions and stuff. It just happened.
Yeah, but even 10 years old, how must have been like 30, 31 when I started meditating, which is, there's a significant difference there. You're never too late, even if you're like 84.
Absolutely.
It's never too late. It just, I can see a correlation, because as we progress spiritually, our intuitive ability expands, because we become more the soul and less the body and the mind. And this is actually what's important for us to be really connected and tap into intuition, and not just the intuition itself, but again, the field of information that exists, that all the information ever since the creation of this universe is stored in.
Yeah. I think too, it depends on your life. I had a pretty challenging life growing up. So I think that, I spent a lot of time in survival mode.
Well, we all have to go through whatever lessons we have in this reincarnation to learn, because we always come here to learn and grow. This is basically the foundation of what this Earth's experience on Earth is. You can think of it as art school. We're here to learn and grow, and in the process to contribute, using our gifts to others, to be of service, because at the end of the day, on the higher levels of, if you shrink it up, on the highest levels of consciousness, there is no me, there is no you, there is just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're never doing things for others. We're literally doing them for ourselves.
Yeah.
But great, thank you for sharing. That was also a wonderful share for you to share.
Yeah. Are you still putting the thing in the chat for us?
Yes, I did. I pasted my bad. Actually, I did not notice this, because when I typed here, whoever wrote to me was the next person so I sent it privately to Anush. When I intended, I didn't notice was send it to her specifically. Okay, there we go. So the first one, thank you actually for pointing this out, because it's kind of tricky here. I don't look much at the chat box. Yeah. The first one is my YouTube channel, where I have a recording of all the lessons and some old videos from before. And the second one is my Eventbrite, where you can find all the different webinars and the date and time and so on, and you can register and tune in. And also you'll find the lessons embedded in the webinar listings themselves. So you'll have all the information there. Also wanted to mention and share with you, ladies, that I'm launching in the coming month or so online mentorship and coaching community that is going to be an exclusive community open to a handful of people, such as yourselves. There's going to be $200 to be a member, and on a weekly basis, I'll be coaching you on whatever it is going on in your life, helping you to overcome whatever challenges, teaching you different methodologies. So we'll be always having one week we'll focus on studying a new technique, a powerful technique that yields results in one specific dimension of life, while the other week we'll focus on having coaching and just having group coaching experience. And we'll go 1 week, we'll learn something new. The next week we'll be doing the coaching. So that way you'll always have my coaching assistance and guidance, teaching you in powerful techniques that I've learned over my years in personal development, and simultaneously the whole community to always interact and so on, because at the end of the day, we human beings are programmable by design. The question is, who's programming you and in what way? And having access to community and people and ideas that always are empowering you, showing you the way forward, and so on is extreme value. I'm myself part of a high-level mentorship community that I've been for a while now, that I'm extremely glad that I joined, because we get to talk about very, again, fringe concepts, let's put it this way, concepts that are not popularly discussed, and that's something I'll be sharing with you in the coaching community as well. All of these ideas that are not mainstream, because mainstream, again, to me, is, you can think of mainstream as cult of mediocrity, or selling yourself short on your greatness, and that's not a game I play. So this is something I wanted to share with you, and if you guys are interested, I'll share more information with you. Simultaneously, there are a few other things I want to share with you as well. We can actually talk about the community during that. I offer a complimentary 1-hour coaching session, which is a value of $5,000. If you want to have a one-to-one coaching conversation with me and discuss anything you want to work together on and get some guidance, overcome, crash, destroy a ceiling, or whatever it is necessary to whatever work you feel needs to be done, and the support and guidance you need, be happy to be of assistance. Let me actually post the link here for the coaching session. Anush actually found me, as you were asking who came from where. Anush actually found me through, she's a member of my local meetup community, which I used to host actually the webinars in person as actual workshops, but given the current circumstances, this hasn't been a possibility ever since March. And this is how actually Anush found me, and then she booked the coaching session, and maybe she's still here with us. She can share what her experience was. But here's the link. You're very welcome to save it and schedule a coaching session for whenever you wish. And also, I also have a online holistic transformation challenge, which is available for free, and you can sign up and take whatever you like. So I'll share the link for you for it as well. And you're welcome to sign up and take the challenge. There's plenty of value in it as well. It's delivered through email. Each day you get a new video, new lesson, and powerful worksheets. I definitely recommend going through, if you sign up, actually downloading the PDF worksheets and doing all the exercises, because again, it's great to have new information, but unless you're using it and applying it in some useful way in your life, it's just mental chatter, or just, as I love to share with my students, mental masturbation. So definitely take advantage of the challenge and do all the exercises. They're all very powerful and insightful exercises that I've included in there. And with that being said, it was great for you to tune in and spend a couple hours with me and being such a great audience. And most importantly, again, thank you all for taking this time to invest in yourself, because that's what ultimately it is. You're making an investment in yourself, and you're being in great company, listening to great ideas and just sharing good energy. So I was grateful. I'm very grateful that you shared those
Absolutely.
couple
Thank
hours
you so
with me.
much.
Yeah, thanks, Norton.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay,
you
well
It was
done.
great.
Great
for allowing
job. Thank
me
you.
to serve
Yes.
you today. Thank you.
Thank
again.
you.
Okay, bye now.
All right. Bye bye.
Yes, have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
You
Bye.
too. Bye bye.